The Bible tells us that the enemy of our soul tries to sow things in our lives that will stop the progress, the harvest that God wants us to have. We try to stop our effectiveness in the kingdom and to stymie our spiritual growth. And if you can, just to steal the seed altogether. But we need to be aware, and we need to allow God to help us so that we can be what God wants us to be. Hi, I'm Craig Fritchley, pastor of Calvary, Apostolic, Tabernacle, with today's devotional. And if you will let Him, God will help you to be able to grow and to produce fruit in His kingdom. He has a plan for you to be productive in His kingdom, and He wants that plan to come to fruition. And so you've got to do the things that God asks you to do, and then let God's process work as God uses us. But of course the enemy tries to come in and he tries to stop our progress. This tree behind me, it's a pine tree. You can look, and the part on this side over here has a vine that's been growing up it for the last couple years. And that vine has totally killed that half the tree. The other part's not doing that well either. It's pretty thin compared to what it should be. But it's because something came in and it wrapped itself around that tree and it choked it out. Jesus said, as the sower went forth to sow seeds into the field, there was the one seed that got planted into the stony ground. And the stony ground, as the plant began to grow, the stony ground didn't let it have depth. And because it didn't have depth, whenever the warm weather came and the dryness came, it died. And then the thorny ground, when the thing began to grow, the seed began to grow, the plant was produced. The thorns and the thistles choked out what was trying to be produced. And then the hard ground, we know about that the birds came and stole the seed away because the ground was so hard the seeds couldn't get into the ground. And then there's the good ground. And in the good ground, the seed got in and it produced fruit, 30, 60, 100-fold. But it's important that we let God help us to be good ground. We don't want anything to choke out. We don't want anything to kill out. Or we don't want anything to steal what God's trying to produce in our lives. And so what should have happened several years ago when this vine started to grow on this tree, they came and they cut it off at the base. But it continued to grow. And if you let things grow in your life, they eventually will choke out. So be aware. Be accountable to a pastor, to a congregation of people that love you and care about you. And listen as God gives warnings and direction. Take in the spiritual nutrients that God wants you to have, and then let God help you to take care of any of the problems out there. Because the devil is a danger, but he's not the ultimate authority. God is. And God will help you to be who you need to be as you walk with Him. So don't let anything choke out what God wants to produce in your life. There's a lot of stuff out there in our media. There's a lot of stuff out there in entertainment. And all those things try to get into our spirits, through our minds, through our eyes, through our ears, and try to poison what God's trying to produce in our lives. We can't let that happen. We've got to make sure that we follow God's plan. So do what God wants you to do. Follow His plan. And don't participate in the things of this world. Because, my friend, it might feel good for the moment, but it eventually will choke out what God's trying to do. So be aware, be alert, and let God help you today. Because He will, if you'll just cooperate with His plan. We're glad that you joined us. We hope you share these with others. And you have a wonderful day. God bless.